I know you were talking about Tresean Gore. You were a little disappointed that.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, Tresean Gore kind of got touched up, bro.
He messed up my parlay. Told me not to put money on him.
Yeah, bro. That was a tough night for Gore, bro. Tough night for Gore, man.
It sucks, man, because I heard he had like some family stuff going on. One of his relatives was sick and stuff, man. So like he really needed to win this fight. So I was kind of cheering for him because of that. But Tresean is more so like a ground game guy. His striking is good, but he has limitations with that. So I probably should not have like betted on him.
For whatever reason, bro, whoever I bet on, I'm always biased, right? And we all have these biases on people we like. But here lately, whoever I bet on, you can put money that the other guy is going to win because I'm constantly getting my picks wrong. So don't feel too bad about it.
But they say Marco was nice though. His striking was unbelievable.
Ooh, he was, bro. He was. He put on a show. He really did.
But this is the time period in the UFC, in the UFC's middleweight division, where you have a lot of guys and like they're getting a fast track to like title shots. So like you had with Dreekes. Dreekes was like that. He was on a tear. He was finishing people. So some people are comparing Marco to some of these other guys like the Bo Nickel and the Dreekes who just they're embarrassing people.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, bro. And speaking of that, how crazy is that we're living in a time right now where all you have to do is really coming off a loss, all you really have to do is get one good win and you're right in the mix. I mean, there's guys like Mobzar right now with these like 9-fight win streaks that are still trying to get their title shot.
Look at Murad. He lost a couple. He lost 2 in a row, I believe. And he was contemplating going back to his job. I think he was a construction worker or something like that. And
yeah,
he won like 11 in a row or something, 12.
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, you just never know. You never know. But I would like to see the UFC get back to a point where they're actually making guys earn it. Actually, you know, I've heard other people talking about that, like in my circles, just how crazy it is with the new culture, just with guys getting one big win, and then all of a sudden you got the number 7 guy that's getting a title shot over people who may deserve it more. So that's all I'd like to see. Make these guys earn it.
Then you got my boy Sedriques, Dumas. He got embarrassed by Michał, Oleksiejczuk.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about Dumas, bro, but I've always rooted for him and I've always wanted to see him do well. I don't know if it's his aesthetic, you know what I mean?
He looks like a video game character.
Yeah.
You ever played a UFC game and you get destroyed by somebody like with the dreads and the tattoos and they just but he looks like that, but he doesn't fight like that.
Yeah. It's a shame, bro. But yeah, I've caught myself rooting for him since the very first time I saw him fight. So it's unfortunate, bro. It really is. And the other guy looked real good.
But he trained with what's the guy's name? The Fight Nerds.
Mm-hmm.
Fighting Nerds, man. So those guys are undefeated in the UFC. You know, with we're gonna talk about him in a little bit with Jean Silva, Caio. So he got some killers over there. But Darren Elkins, I knew he was gonna lose. I put money on Julian and Erosa. That was a bad matchup for Darren Elkins.
Yeah, I believe so too, bro.
He take a lot of damage, man. And the way to beat Julian, you got to be like a certain type of striker and stuff. Let me see. Jim Miller, I knew he was gonna lose against Chase Hooper. I put money on him too.
And you know what? That matchup didn't make much sense to me. I mean, look, Jim Miller's at the tail end of his career, and I understand it's a certain duty or responsibility from some of these vets to feel like they have to go and welcome in the new talent. But I would have bet everything that Chase Hooper was going to win that fight, and he did. You know, I don't know. I thought it was a bad matchup. I mean, what's next for Jim Miller at this point, bro?
Man, didn't he say he got one more fight and then he gonna retire or something like that? Was that him or was that somebody else?
I don't know, but I would think that would be it. I mean, he got brutalized by Bobby Green at 300. That was his last fight, correct? UFC 300, I believe. And then he did take Chase Hooper to a decision, which says a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I would have liked to maybe see him fight someone even lower.
The problem is, and this is what me and my brother talk about a lot. Jim Miller, he has a record and he has a whole history and career of beating lower tier fighters.
Right.
And he has the record now for most wins, I believe, in the UFC. And he only has that record because he's beating newcomers and stuff. So that's why I like for him to fight fights like this so we can see how good he really is. When you're fighting people making their UFC debut and they have zero fights in the UFC, of course you're gonna beat them. And that's what with Jim, because people saying he should go in the Hall of Fame. And I'm like, Hall of Fame, bro. Like, you ain't fought nobody. Like, every time you fought somebody in the top 10, you lost.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying there. But, Jim Miller's like one of these, I don't want to say pioneer guys, but he's been around for a long time and he's old. Why not select his fights a little bit better? Let him ride out in a blaze of glory. You know what I mean?
I'm going to tell you this. The last thing I'm going to say about Jim Miller, I do respect his heart because a lot of times when he lose, he don't really get finished that often. So like we see fighters get hurt, man, and they kind of just wield and they just kind of give up, man. And that's one thing I respect about him. That's the debate on whether he should go in the Hall of Fame. It's because he got so much heart, So
along with all the fights, and I totally agree. But it's one of those things where if you stick around long enough, you might just have a lot of fights. So
then you had Cheyenne, and she got destroyed by Verna. I knew Verna was going to win because she has a strong grappling. The Dan Ige fight was weird, early stoppage. Sean Woodson was winning and he got hurt, and it looked like as soon as he was about to recover, the referee stopped it.
Terrible stoppage. With Dan Ige, it's hard to count a guy who has that sort of power like he has. It's hard to count him out, but I really just thought that Sean Woodson was going to be too rangy. He's so much taller. He's got the reach advantage. And I think we were seeing some of that. And I thought I had Sean Woodson winning that entire fight pretty much. But yeah, that was a bad stoppage. Terrible, terrible stoppage. I think Sean Woodson had pretty much fully recovered. So tough night out for him.
Yeah, he was in my parlay too. So if Tresean would have still won, he was going to ruin it for me, which would not have been his fault because I think it was an early stoppage. But one issue I got with Sean Woodson is he plays with his food a lot.
Right.
Sometimes he get people out of there. Other times he content with just outworking them. And when you fight against somebody like Dan Ige, you know what I'm saying? Like if you don't put him out, he can possibly put you out.
Right.
But like I say, you know what's weird, man? Like we talk a lot about like fighters, their height and their reach advantage. I love this. Right. This fight is a great example of a shorter guy with shorter reach winning. I mean, yes, it was an early stoppage, but he still was aggressive and he gave himself an opportunity to win in the third round. And I see a lot of that, man. Sometimes I see like the shorter guy beating the taller guy. You would think, oh, the taller guy has the physical advantages, but some kind of way the shorter guy was able to win, So
what, in my opinion, while reach is important, this isn't just boxing. You can implement so many other tools to kind of close the distance and trying to get a takedown, the grappling exchanges, all these different things. I agree. But then, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but then you see a guy like Michael Chandler fighting a taller guy like Paddy Pimblett and just not being able to cross the void at all. He was having a lot of trouble. So, but I see what you mean.
There's actually there's a statistic in the UFC with guys that's over 4 inches and taller. They have their 4-inch height advantage. They only win 60% of the time. So you would think that they will win at a higher clip, man, but that 60 is almost 50%. But you would think that taller guy will win more. So it's just weird, like with that. But yeah, man. But the next one we're gonna talk about is Dominic Reyes versus Nikita. Man, Dominic Reyes, man. He said he don't get paid by the second. It's kind of like how Conor McGregor knocked out Jose.
It was similar. It was very similar.
Went forward, went back, went forward, and kind of baited him in, and he countered him. So it was real impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I picked against Dominic Reyes in this fight. I think Krylov is one of the biggest underdogs in the light heavyweight division, potentially on the entire roster. He's just a good fighter. But when at the opening bell, I could just tell that Krylov was going to get himself into trouble. I mean, he was just swinging wildly. And yeah, I mean, it was like a Conor McGregor-esque punch that put him down and put him out bad. So
this Dominic Reyes, his best weapon is the left straight. And for Nikita to kind of run into it is almost like he didn't really do his research on him.
Bad game plan. I don't really know what's next for Dominic Reyes, but I think this puts him at a 3 consecutive win streak that he's on right now. And dude, Dominic Reyes is still young too. I think he's only 31, 32, 33 years old maybe. Dominic Reyes might just be entering into his prime. Let's not count Dominic Reyes out. I think he might be trying to make a push for the light heavyweight gold.
That's what I was going to say, man. Like he's making the light heavyweight division more exciting and interesting because Alex cleared the division out, but then he lost his belt. So it's kind of like, what else? Where do we go from here? But some people were saying Dominic Reyes versus Yair too. Let them running back.
Yair beat him bad before, right? He
beat him bad. It ended bad with the spinning elbow, but Reyes hurt him in a fight. I think Reyes hurt him, and he had Yair going for takedowns and stuff, bro.
The only thing, Yair's fought at the top where Dominic Reyes has kind of had to work his way back up. And the only person that Yair's lost to at this point here in recent history is Alex Pereira. As a matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that Yair's lost to anyone in the UFC except for Alex. So I believe that they're going to do the Alex and Ankalaev rematch. And whoever wins that, I believe Yair might be next up. But who knows? That's a long time off. We're talking 2 fights from now. Yair might just take another fight in between then. And, he's kind of cleared out the top of that division as well. So maybe we could see a rematch.
Yeah. Next, we got Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva. Man, and me and my brother, we had a debate about this. I said, Jean, he looked good, but he kind of kept Bryce in the fight longer than what it should have been. And he was like, what you talking about? Jean looked phenomenal. I said, yeah, man, but even in the first round, Bryce was winning up until like the guillotine at the end of the first round. Bryce was like outstriking him. And we see Jean, he plays with his food. He liked to like touch gloves and he liked to dance around and play. But against somebody like Bryce Mitchell, you got to be careful, bro, because then you end up losing a close decision, which he won and he finished him. But I would like to see him get more aggressive on the feet early on.
Yeah, me as well. And I believe Jean Silva is going to get himself in trouble with those antics one of these days. And hopefully I'm wrong because it is entertaining to watch. But you're right. He totally does kind of play with his food, so to speak, out there.
Look at Anderson Silva. Anderson, with his whole career winning fights doing that. And right towards the end.
Bisping.
The Chris Weidman.
Yeah, Chris Weidman.
But even like Jean versus Josh Emmett, I can see him winning. Well, they didn't fight. I can see him winning a fight like that, but then Josh catch him playing around. So I mean, I think Jean got to kind of stay focused a little bit more, which he did. He did phenomenal. He looked incredible, but against Bryce, I would have more focus.
Yeah, the ninja choke was crazy. That was beautiful.
Yeah, and then he went to the ground. How you feel about him going to the ground with Bryce? I would have preferred him to stand up with him more.
Yeah, I mean, me too. But maybe he's just trying to show us the fullness of his game because we know Jean Silva has a lot of power in his hands, and we know that Bryce Mitchell is a super nasty submission artist. That's where he excels at. And so maybe he was just trying to show Bryce Mitchell and show everybody that he does have that in his game as well. Did you hear that? He's calling for a title shot now. He said he says he deserves it, and if Dana and Hunter don't give him a title shot, then he wants somebody in the top 5 that's going to get him to the title shot in his next fight. What do you think about that? It's kind of early, huh?
It's real early, and he don't deserve a title shot because Bryce lost 2 of his last 3 fights. But you got to kind of, the world, like the game today, you got to kind of speak it into existence because you're marketing yourself. And a lot of fighters, they make the mistake of they don't really talk about it on the mic. You get what I'm saying? So then
Right.
he in 10 fights in a row, but nobody want to see him. But
Yeah.
he's the right thing. He's speaking about it, and he's getting us to think about it and talk about it. We talking about it right now. It has to be like Arnold Allen or Max or somebody, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you look at Mavzar, he's beaten, he's beaten pretty much everybody except for Volk. Arnold Allen, he beat Funkmaster, he beat Dan Ige. I feel like there's one that I'm missing, but I mean, Diego Lopez in Diego Lopez's debut. So there are guys that deserve it more, but I think you're absolutely right. You know, if you can get people talking about it and put it out there, you're putting yourself in the driver's seat essentially and giving yourself a chance. But you're absolutely right, bro. I don't think that Jean Silva deserves it. And that's not to say that I don't think if he did get a title shot that maybe he couldn't give Volk a run for his money or give Volk some problems, but I just don't think he's deserved it. I would like to see Jean Silva fight somebody maybe ranked 10 or slightly higher. What was Bryce ranked? 13?
Yeah, I don't even think he was in top 10.
Yeah, so let him get a the number 10 or number 9 guy, or if somebody pulls out of a fight, let him jump in and see what he can do. But the top of that featherweight division, there's just too many guys that make more sense for a title shot.
Okay, we ain't got to spend too much time on this fight because it's not like Pitbull did anything, and I put money on him in a separate parlay, and he let me down. When I say he didn't do anything, he didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, so this was a fight that I was really excited about, right? Even if you only strictly watch UFC, you've had to have heard of this guy. Pitbull's been around for a long time, and I've always had my eyes on him. I think this fight happened about 5 years too late, first off. As far as the fight goes, Pitbull had a lot of trouble closing the distance and crossing the void against Yair. I don't think he made the most of some of the wrestling exchanges. I think he could have done a little better there. But, yeah, I knew Pitbull had his work cut out for him. Nobody wants a guy as creative in the striking and as dynamic as Yair Rodriguez is in their UFC debut.
But the problem is Yair, he wins these fights, but then he gets to the next level, the next tier, and he always loses. Like if he fights like a Max Holloway, or if he fights like Brian Ortega, if he fights like a Volk, he always loses to those guys. But he can beat somebody like Pitbull, who's way shorter than him, and Pitbull didn't fight like he should have. And like you say, he's past his prime. So I mean, Yair, he looked good. He cost me some money, but it is what it is. But like I say, I mean, we need you to win the big fights. You wouldn't. Did you see like the pre-fight, the confrontation between him and Diego?
I did.
I think this is the next fight to make, man. Because if Diego would have won, you know what I'm saying? Yair, even if Yair would have won, he didn't deserve a title shot. He's like 1 or 2 fights away. But the fact that Diego lost and Yair won, I think they're kind of like on the same level now.
It's the perfect fight to make. You're absolutely right. And just like Jean Silva, Yair Rodriguez is now calling for a title shot. He just had an interview with Ariel Helwani that I saw, and he said, it doesn't make sense for me to fight Diego Lopez. He's coming off of a loss. It doesn't make sense for me to fight Mavzar. The only fight that really makes sense is that featherweight title with me and Volk because we've got history. And I'm just thinking like, no, bro. Like you were just at the press conference going back and forth, damn near fighting with Diego Lopez. And if Diego Lopez would have came out victorious, that would have probably been the fight to happen just because of the storyline there, even though I don't necessarily think that Rodriguez deserves it. But Yair Rodriguez has made it public. He's trying to stay very far away from Diego Lopez and Mavzar. But I think if I'm a matchmaker, I think that they promoted that fight perfectly at this last press conference. And I think that's the fight that needs to happen.
Speaking of title shot, we got Michael Chandler, low fight IQ, went out there and found a way to lose. And I'm not mad at how he lost because he got his sheet busted. Pause. He got his sheets busted, but he got finished because Paddy kind of overwhelmed him. I don't have an issue with that. I have an issue with him going out and he's walking forward, but he's shooting for takedowns. when you got all that power, bro, Paddy was kind of like, oh, what are you going to do? And Michael was just walking forward, but not throwing punches. It looked kind of weird, though.
Yeah, so this did not look like the same Michael Chandler. It looked to me like it was the game plan to try and implement a little more wrestling, and he went out there and he got the first takedown, but failed all the other ones after, I believe. I don't think he got another takedown. And when he did take him down, he got beat up pretty bad with some elbows. But what I saw was a guy that was like what we were talking about earlier, shorter than his opponent, but this time in this matchup, it just seemed like he had a little bit of trouble crossing the void. Like it just seemed like Paddy was doing a great job keeping Michael Chandler at range. And I stated in one of my prediction videos that while Michael Chandler does have that big power, I just felt as if Paddy Pimblett and might give him trouble with the boxing. And I think where we're at now with Paddy Pimblett, I think we're seeing a fighter that has sharpened all of his tools and is more well-rounded right now than he's ever been. I do think that there's more room for improvement. And I like how he is calling out guys. He's everybody in the top five. He called out Dustin, Justin, Charles, Armin. I like that. He's not calling for a title shot just because he beat Michael Chandler. He understands there's more work to do there. Who do you see Paddy Pimblett taking on next?
Whoever willing to take the Jake Paul special. My bad. I said it out loud. I don't know. I mean, you got to be Charles. You got to be Charles.
I hate that. I don't want it to be Charles, and that's just strictly my bias. I love Charles, and I think that the Armin fight with Charles and Armin, I thought that was very close. I thought that could have went either way, and with Armin dropping out of these fights, kind of not ruining the cards, but turning them upside down and making the UFC have to shuffle what they're going to do. I think that's kind of pushed Armin down a bit. Now, as far as the rankings, Armin is still above Charles, but I like Charles next for Islam. Now, the problem is Islam is now cleared out the top of that division, aside from Armin and Ilya. So, I don't know what they're going to do, but, man, I'd hate to see Paddy beat Charles, and I'm going to be honest. If I had to pick today, I would still probably pick Charles, but the thought of Paddy against anybody in that top five kind of makes me wonder, just because I like I said, I saw somebody who had their skills so on full display. So Paddy looks sharp right now, man.
But I don't understand, like when Michael Chandler fought against Dan Hooker, Dan is taller than Paddy. Dan is like 6 foot, 6'1". He didn't have issues. On Dan. That's why I'm saying this fight was kind of odd, because it looked like Michael was more hesitant. He was kind of pulling his punches a little bit, if I'm gonna just be honest.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up, because the Michael Chandler we're used to seeing is just a super explosive athlete that will literally lunge a few feet across the octagon to land a punch, and we didn't see that.
He went from diving to taking a dive. I mean, okay,
he did. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't mean to say that, but I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but the way Paddy be winning some of these fights is kind of suspect, because you're seeing improved striking and him sharpening his tools. Yes, he is getting better and he is improving, but to me it seemed like Michael beat himself. And then he got other fights like against Bobby Green. It looked kind of suspect, man. Like it's not like he's going out there knocking nobody out cold. You get what I'm saying? He just winning these weird ways, which, I mean, you can call me what you want to call me, man. But even the Jordan Levitt fight was weird, because Jordan had his back. He took him down and took his back, but the next round he ended up getting submitted. But then again, look at the Gordon. What's my guy name?
Jared Gordon.
Yeah, Jared Gordon. That fight was weird. Jared was putting hands on him, but they refused to give him his decision win.
Yeah.
So I think Paddy is kind of like, I'm not taking nothing away from this fight, but the way he wins his fights are kind of
a little suspect.
the suspect. That's all I'm gonna say. Which he is improving. I'll give him that. But I want to see him fight somebody like Arma. I want to see him fight somebody, what I'm saying, who don't have a low fight IQ. Maybe it's just he's fighting people with low fight IQs. Because Bobby Green, he has a history of being like that.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Green, that's not a super impressive win to me. And you know what? How impressive is this Michael Chandler win? I know Michael Chandler has given everybody in the top 5 trouble. I think he's hurt Dustin. He's hurt Justin. He's been in these dog fights. But Michael Chandler's getting older now. And while it is a good name, I don't know how quality the win is. That's still to be determined, I guess. So we'll see. I'd like to see Paddy. I'd like to see Paddy and Justin Gaethje.
And then the last thing I'm gonna say is after the fight, they showed Paddy Pimblett. They showed Michael. His face was like a meat pie. And then they showed Pimblett, and Paddy didn't have a scratch on him. Did you know that? He didn't have a scratch on his face? And I was like, bruh, like, what in the world? He didn't get touched.
Yeah, no, he completely dominated. Did you see him and Colby Covington getting into an argument after the fight?
I think I dislike these guys equally. These are the two people. I respect Paddy. I respect he got the dog in him. I respect that he's improving. His striking it has come a long way, but I just hate how some of his fights end, if I'm gonna just be honest. And Colby, he's overrated, and I don't really like him. He goes too far. Like when he was talking about Leland Edwards' father.
Oh man, that was terrible.
See you in hell or whatever he said.
Oh my goodness, he went crazy. Yeah. You know what? I think the only way Colby breathes life into his career at this point, because he is a little older, and I know this is kind of off topic, but they did get into an argument, so we'll go on it. He's already smaller at 170.
Cut down to lightweight.
Is there a possibility he could potentially cut down to 155? I mean, it would be for Colby Covington. It would be a rebirth essentially. He would have a second opportunity. And I think he would probably get a lot of grace for a lot of his other losses moving weight classes. But he's got to be sure that he can win down there because those guys at 155 are tough.
I think you're underestimating how big Colby is. I think he's one of the bigger welterweights. Because he seems like he's small, but then you see how strong he is when he's in there against guys. Like when he fought Jorge Masvidal, he was way bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, there are guys like Shavkat. Some of these guys are just they're way bigger, but if you compare him to the average welterweight, he's bigger. But and I hate Colby. He has a career of fighting lightweights too, man. He fought Jorge. He fought RDA. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of seeing him fighting these small lightweights where he could just pick up and slam.
Yeah. Which in my opinion makes more sense why he would move down. I just don't see any sort of future there for him at 170. But yeah, that was interesting. Why Paddy Pimblett? Why? I wonder what, there was you can say what you want about Colby. I don't care for him either, especially after the statements with Leon's dad, but there's a reason for just about everything he does, and he knew that video was going to go semi-viral. So I just wonder what his plans are. It'll be interesting to keep an eye out on.
Well, we got 3 minutes to talk about the Volk versus Diego fight.
Let's do it.
Man, I told people before this fight that Volk was going to win. It really comes down to his mindset. Because when you get knocked out and you get knocked out back to back, you know what I'm saying, in title fights, sometimes you don't be the same. And there's this one image of him when he got knocked down by Diego Lopez when he was on the ground. He was looking up. It almost looked like he thought about whether or not he was going to get up, and he made a decision to get up. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna send you that picture of him getting knocked down. I might
send me that.
I might put that as a thumbnail of this video. But it looked like he made a conscious decision, like screw it, and he got up. But yeah, I mean that was his mindset was the biggest thing, and he overcame that. But I didn't think if Volk was gonna lose, it would be to Islam. You know what I'm saying? It'd be the Islams, the Ilya. Right. Diego is good, but there's different levels to this, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw something where Volk was telling his daughters that he was going to bring the belt back. So I think he had something to prove to himself. I think that he wanted to do that for his family and for all of his fans. With that win, Volk becomes the first person over the age of 35, I believe, in welterweight and down. I might be wrong about that, but for sure it's never been done in lightweight or featherweight to win a title after that age. He's 36 years old. He got the belt back, and you're right, bro. He fought through some adversity. I believe that he won every single round. Round 2 was the one that people talk about. I could see Diego winning that one, but aside from that, he really put it on Diego. And as far as Diego Lopez, wow, I didn't realize he had so much power. I mean, it's not like he was landing as much as Volk, not even close, but when he was landing, you could just see the damage that Volk was wearing on his face. So I'd like to see Volk get back in there and stay active. And as far as Diego Lopez, man, we talked about it earlier. Yair Rodriguez, Diego Lopez. Let's make that fight happen.
And last thing I'm gonna say is I like comparing MMA and sports to real life, and Dominic Reyes and Volk. I like seeing guys and men overcome adversity and seeing.
That's why
yeah,
that's why I love Charles. That's why I love Oliveira.